Nicaragua. We got off the bus, we went into the church. There was a bunch of people around, and out of all the people, the first person who came up and spoke to me was Nadia. And Nadia is the little girl that my wife and I sponsor. But when she came up to me, she said, "Where's Caroline?" And I thought, you know, she's asking for Caroline. I'm standing right in front of her. But it was great. Caroline, my wife and I, we began sponsoring children maybe about a year ago at Brother Andrew's Crusade revival. We chose Nadia from a stack of brochures that Miss Karen had, and we went through all the brochures, and we saw her picture. And me, Caroline and I thought, this is the one we want. This is the one. We have another little girl that we sponsor. She lives on the island of Ometepe. Her name was Genesis, and we chose her. Caroline met Genesis washing her feet, and they both clicked immediately. So Caroline came to me and said, I want to sponsor Genesis. So we took Genesis on.
We washed a lot of feet, put on new shoes and socks, and really blessed the adults and the children a lot. One little boy came to me, and I believe that we were sent to Nicaragua on this trip, especially for this little boy. I could tell that he was kind of shuffling and ashamed, and when he finally came over to where I was washing feet, I looked down at his feet and they were deformed. His feet were deformed, and he had 6 toes on each foot. And the Lord just spoke to me that this was going to cover this little boy's shame.
I remember sitting with Miss Dottie. Miss Dottie was sitting over here beside me, and we were washing these feet, and we had this young man walk up, and we didn't know what kind of shoes it was going to take to put on this man's feet. And he had disformed feet. He had 6 toes. And I said, God, what kind of shoe am I going to give this young man? God knows what he's doing. He knew what shoes were in that box to give, and we had I call it a water shoe, to put on this young man's foot that would form to that toe. That's God.
And so when he got on his new shoes and socks and walked away, there was a huge big smile on his face, and he was holding his head up. And I know that the Lord really loved that little boy, and that's one of the big reasons that he sent us there.
We're doing a brand new thing. That you can sponsor a pair of shoes for $5. We're giving kids brand new shoes. We're washing their feet, putting socks on their feet, and a brand new pair of shoes, and loving on them and praying for them. And we've been out buying these shoes everywhere for like $2 or $3 a pair, $5 a pair. And you know what? In 6 weeks, we've taken in $11,000 to buy shoes.
The only time I got to wash feet was back at the church, and like the second lady I knew. The first lady, I don't think she stood in line or anything, because I don't think I think she just sat down in my chair because she could speak English, and it was my first time doing it. So she was like, "I want that pair of shoes over there," and I'm like, "Oh wow, you speak English really good."
We washed feet at it was the first place was at that I washed feet. I believe it was at a church at that time. The first time they did was at the feeding program. They had established a new feeding program there, and I helped with the shoes and the socks a little bit. What the intention purpose was that they have the people take their old shoes that would match them up with the feet, their sizes, and give a clean pair of socks. And who wants to put a clean pair of socks over dirty feet? So it was like an honor.
feet washing to me was great. At first I thought it was going to be kind of awkward. When we first started doing it, I thought it was going to be pretty awkward. But as we continued to do it, for the first time I did it, actually, I sat down and they sent a boy in. He had to be like maybe 3-4 years old, and he sat down in front of me. And I was kind of like Indian style on the floor. And he had these little feet. And he put his little feet in my hand. It was like, it's a trusting, like a dependence. And the whole time he's just kind of looking around like, I'm not scared, I'm not afraid. You're from another country, you look different than I do, but you know what? I'm not afraid. And he came in carrying his little shoes. And his little feet were about that big. But that's the stuff that'll get you. If you've never been to Nicaragua, that's the stuff that'll definitely get you.
Up in the morning and out to school. The teacher is teaching the golden rule. American history and practical math. You study them hard and hoping to pass.
So the Lord began to speak to us to raise up Christian schools and to disciple those children from the time they're in preschool until they graduate. And if we could raise those children up in the ways of the Lord, that they would be the ones that would touch their nation.
Working your fingers right down to the bone, and the guy behind you won't leave you alone. Ring, ring goes the bell.
So our main goal is really to minister the truth, the grace and faith message to these children, and let them change their nation to disciple them.
A huge place in my heart is for babies. I love babies. Anybody that knows me will tell you, anytime you see Pastor Eddie, he's going to have a baby in his hand. And out in Managua, at our school and our church there, it was awesome. I saw a young baby that was crying. The mother had, the baby was crying, and the Holy Spirit said, go get that baby, calm that baby's spirit down. And I walked around with that baby, and they held that baby, and that baby just calmed straight down because of the Holy Spirit in me. And the two spirits connected, and it calmed that baby down until she just went on to sleep eventually. That was precious to me. Another time that was, I really truly enjoyed was being around Geronimo. That boy is something else. I love Geronimo, and to know and to see how Ambassadors has helped that young man through so much in his life, and now he has a house, a home to live in. That's powerful.
This lady came up to us, and we had the doctor with us, and Miss Dottie was with us, and they were handing out shoes and clothes and everything down the line, and we were kind of standing where we had the drama spot, and she came up and she started talking to Miss Dottie about her, and I think Sammy was there, and she was telling him about, she was just started talking to him, Spanish, we didn't understand, so we got the doctor lady and her son, and they translated. And we saw her knees, they were swole up, they were real big, and she was skinny legs. And we just got to talking, and she said, well, what happened was the lady has arthritis real bad, and she was asking for money because she couldn't afford the medicine. And we were kind of handed out a ton of stuff already. So we were asked, Miss Dottie asked her, what kind of medicine does she need? And she's like, ibuprofen. And it turned out I just happened to have a bottle of Advils in my pouch, and I was able to bless her with it.